Today, I'm speaking to somebody who is so, so dear to my heart. And I don't even want to introduce her because I want to do that after I ask the only one question that is set question, which is, please tell us, who are you?
I'm a divine being that chose to come into a flesh suit and serve humanity in a way where we can all unite more and elevate the vibration on the whole planet. That's who I am.
Okay.
That's the essence.
So what happens? I love your talks on Facebook. I love what you're doing. I love your approach. I love your vibe, your energy, all that kind of stuff. And so what happens when we approach the body from the divine? Because we sort of seem to have been raised as like humans who are reaching out to divine, as opposed to divine embracing a human form. So what happens when we take that top-down approach almost? What happens to our bodies?
Beautiful. I love this. So I believe I got asked this question. I did a post. So thank you, first of all, for having me. I love sharing, creative ideas and exploring things with you online. It's really fun. I love your commitment to helping people and to elevating the whole world, whatever it takes and whatever best form you show up in every day. It's really cool to see. So I'm just, grateful to be connected to you and your community, and it's been really fun journey. And so the body and divinity, I got asked this question recently about, I use the word power. And somebody says, what is power? And I really had to feel into that. And I believe power is when you are flowing your body from divine source. It's not from the head. It's not like trying to figure it out or somebody told you so you got to do it and then think it through. And no, it's in every single moment, micro moment. You are led by something inside of you. You may call it God, you may call it universe, you may call it Buddha, Shakti, whatever. It's something energetic. It's beyond the mind. And so it resides within us. We feel it. It's the sense that nobody else could really understand. I just know I have to do this, or I want to do that. And nobody else wants to, just you. And that inspiration, that divine flow is in the body. It's what activates the body to move or not move, or move in a certain direction. And so I was actually a scientist for years. I would say ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I did not believe in God. I did not believe in anything beyond the earthly existence and the planets and the physical form. What was presented to me on the periodic table of elements was what I thought existed only. And then I started in 2013 doing very deep dive into my own body through healing, through childhood wounds, and through a divorce. I was like, I need to figure something out. And I didn't know how else to do it, but get into yoga. And I did a ton of mindfulness practices, a ton of exploration of my own body, breath, body, movement. I've done so much over the last several years. And what's been fascinating is the deeper I go in my body work, the more I feel tapped into divinity. It's so easy. Like I joke, but it's like, I can talk to Jesus at any time because I know how to breathe into my heart. Mm-hmm. Boom, just like that. Isn't that cool? And so Jesus might not be your homeboy. That's okay. Maybe pure love energy or creativity, or, I've done channeling work where I channel a group of Palladians. Like, hey guys, what's this about? I can talk to essences outside of this dimension now, because I have talked to the essence within this dimension, right? And so that's what I love, you know, about the body and divinity and how it all works together. It's like the, you know, you're committed to your body. I don't know what your experience is, but you know,
Well,
just feeling like,
my experience of the whole body kind of thing is that when I was a teenager, at some point, my best friend back in Bosnia, where I'm originally from, we decided to do 2-hour workouts every day, no skipping, as in no skipping exercises. Not we did skipping as an exercise, but no skipping days. Every day, 2 hours, no matter how we felt. But we made sure that we created a workout regime for us, or a plan that included all sorts of different exercises, including like neck muscles and all the things that we didn't quite like to use, including running, which we weren't really good at or particularly enjoyed. And that's how I really got into exercise. But really, like over the years, what happened, parenthood, pressures of earning for a number of people, feeding them, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of felt like I got disconnected from my body. And that's created all sorts of mental issues. And at one point I started like thinking, I got to like really reconnect first with myself, like as in psychologically, and then physiologically, if that's the right word. And I'm focusing a lot these days on also that maybe I'm now at a stage where you were in 2013. Okay, really kind of exploring the body in a holistic way. And so that's why it's so fascinating to be speaking to you, because you're like the OG at this process, right? And you know, like basically my perception of you, if I may share this, is that like you're a person. This is how I see you. Okay, you're a person who were like born out of some sort of divine lotus flower, okay, and you came out perfectly shaped, okay, and that's that. But is that the case? Like, tell me more about yourself in that sense.
I love this question. Thank you. Because I actually get this a lot. People are like, oh, you wouldn't get it because look at you. I'm like, well, I guess I need to show you pictures of how I used to look. I really appreciate that, because I do, what you're seeing is the integration. I'll just start there and kind of work backwards and tell you kind of how I got here, and some simple tools really that can help anybody in your audience, you, anybody. It's the integration between the inside and the outside. That's what the lotus flower is, as above, so below. So it's the body piece, but you, like you mentioned, it is the mind piece too, which is, and the divinity piece. So it's really, it's body awareness, breathing, being in touch with that breath connection, and then trusting, really trusting. You know, these are challenges for people, to trust in life. Trust, you're going to be okay. Like, you're going to be taken care of. Things might get wonky sometimes, but you're going to be okay. Right. And this wasn't always the case for me. I didn't feel like this. I grew up in a, you know, from, you know, single mom. She was, you know, uneducated. She became abusive to me for years. I grew up, you know, very intelligent, though, blessed with brains, super, you know, I'm into astrology and all sorts of stuff. They're like, you've got a supercomputer in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love doing what I do, because I can take all this information and whittle it down, and I've had all these experiences. I had these hardships in life. So I went hard with my brain, bachelor's degree, master's degree, worked in consulting, PhD, was at Ohio State University teaching environmental policy, wanting to change the world, everything outside of myself. I found myself drinking a lot, eating not good food, and just basically to a point where my adrenals were shot. I just was so worn out from the go, the thinking, trying to figure it all out, right? That's the way I grew up. That's the way I was trained. I was like it was in total survival mode. I wasn't trusting. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in any of that. I was a scientist. And then after I got into the body, I had a spiritual awakening. Then I, started a business and recognized the mind was scared still around security, around safety. So there's more work to do. So I had to go into a deeper level of my body and notice the fear. And that's the mind and the body are directly related, right? And so I just had a call with a client this morning, and she's been working on losing weight and losing pain in her body. And she's a CEO of her business, very successful, brilliant woman, and her body hurts. And she's worried about as she ages, right? And so we talked about some stuff. And first of all, because I've done so much body work and spiritual work, I'm very intuitive around the body. I can pretty much pick up like, what's going on in your body? Let's figure it out. And we can pretty much figure it out because I just know so much because I've studied so much, but I also intuit so much because I understand the body and the energy, the flesh and the mind, like how it all works together. So that's what I really would love like today to say, hey, like whatever's going on in the body, it's talking. Like it's speaking. It is the most important voice I believe we need to listen to right now. It's not the voice in the head. It's not the voices outside. It's the body. It will tell us actually what's going on in life, what's going on in the mind. And we can actually shift the mind. People do a lot of mindset work, which is actually very valuable. I do a lot of mindset work. However, without the integration of the body piece, understanding how the mind and the body are related, the mindset work doesn't integrate fully into the life.
So this is very, very fascinating because we recently saw this beautiful program on Netflix called Octopus, My Teacher. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's basically about this guy who's been diving. He basically kind of, had like pretty, so almost like a nervous breakdown at one point in his life. And he was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to do something that I like. And he went diving and he found this octopus in the coral reef and basically became friends with this octopus. And this octopus started teaching him how to really kind of live life effectively. We were watching this, and what you notice about octopus is that it has distributed brain across its body. It's able to immediately change colors and adapt to the environment. And it moves in so many different ways, communicates through visual cues, and it just learns super fast to adapt to the environment. And this guy basically healed himself by diving with this octopus for a year. And so what that also reminded me of is that of the idea that I heard from a certain kind of shaman guy, okay, who I came across on YouTube. Maybe this was like 4 or 5 years ago. And he was one of these kind of like hardcore guys, right? But not like as in working out, but just kind of like grounded, And he said, first of all, let me tell you something. Body is the mind. Okay. So that kind of stuck with me. Okay. So tell me a little bit about what do you hear when you hear that phrase, body is the mind?
Body is the mind. I like want to sing it I like from the rooftops. Yes, 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 yes. This is the key to unlocking our full potential. This is the key to integration. This is the key to happiness, really, is getting into the body. It's the reason why most people struggle. They don't want to feel anything because the body is where we feel. It's where the nervous system is, all of that. So I brought a book because it's like one of the classics and I want to share it. And it's the book that I use most in my coaching, even in business coaching, because it shows everything. So You Can Heal Your Life was written by Louise Hay. That she actually started a publishing company because nobody would publish this information back in the day. Okay. Because it was like, oh, I don't know about that thing, that body, that mind thing. Basically what this book shows you what thoughts impact your body. So if you have a body issue, you can go backwards. Say your lower back hurts, for example. It's usually related to something around money. low back pain and, money, being safe. Do I have enough? Am I going to create enough? Is there enough coming? Am I in the flow? All of the things. How much do I charge? Am I charging enough? I'm not getting enough. I'm giving too much. Low back issues, right? Shoulders. I have a tendency, my shoulders are my spot. It's because I'm working on this, but I have a bit of a save the world complex. The weight of the world on my shoulders. I wake up and I feel the world. So that's a part of me that I have to work on, relaxing. It's not my job to save the world. It's my job to be myself and help as many people as I can along the way. That's it. So the book, this information, this book I'm speaking to, this information was actually given to her. And I know I'm just geeking out right now on this, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's more than this. This is just one book. This is a beautiful gift edition that I love. Beautiful. And it lasts for a long time. I've had this forever. It's still beautiful. Dr. John DeMartini, if you guys know him, brilliant man.
Yeah.
He's done now events in every single country around the world. Brilliant. He is all about this. He's actually the one who gave her all of this data to be able to use and put into this book. And so what I believe is we're in a time now where this has been around for about like 30 years or so. And it's just now starting, people are waking up to the idea like, oh, maybe, people have been looking at the body in a sense of weight, of the lotus flower look. But the lotus flower look never comes for most people, right?
What do you mean by lotus flower look?
The lotus flower look is balance, integration, as above, so below. The inside and the outside reflect each other. So people are trying to get, fit, but they're still not happy, and it just like doesn't last, right? So the lotus flower look is that symmetry. So people tell me a lot as they've been following me or have known me for years, makes me choke up a little bit. They'll say things like, you keep getting more beautiful. The beauty is really the human's eye experiencing more symmetry. It's it's the inside matching the outside, the ability to keep the right amount of weight on and right amount of weight off. The energy of we haven't mentioned this yet, but like the masculine and the feminine energy, it's in the body. It's in, it's expression of the life. So it's a lot about the energy. I teach posture. I do have a movement posture system that I do that keeps my body in a particular shape. And I'm grateful that's, how I got started. But the truth is the shape is related to my energy, my mind and everything. And so what I would say is that lotus flower look, the body is the mind look that we really, really want. It comes down to being your authentic self, being present so that you're in your body and with your breath, right? And letting go of any sort of judgment, stories, attachments, things that might be keeping restrictions in the body from energy flowing. I'll give you guys I'll give you an example. I keep saying you guys because I'm like talking to your audience too. I'm used to
it. Sure, absolutely.
Audiences. But I've had in my low rib area, which is the solar plexus chakra on the inside, and the back, that area of the rib cage, kind of low ribs area, I kind of have a little bit of I've had to work on integrating that part. It's been a little bit like there's been a little bit of discomfort there, tightness. Even my posture was a little bit collapsing in that back part. The reason why is because from the mind standpoint, number one, from the past, I did not grow up with a father figure. So it's the back represents the masculine, the father side, the front, the feminine, the mother side. And that part of me is like solar plexus is like your power source, right? So there was a overexpression on the front and an underexpression on the back, and almost a holding in my mind of thinking I had to do everything by myself. So when I started, basically I hired some people. I put some people on my team. I put a project manager on my team, and I put some tech support on my team. And then all of a sudden my back started to relax. I can ask for help. I can delegate. I can give things away. And then my body all of a sudden starts to relax and everything's more open. I'm more flexible. I feel good, right? I have energetic, coaches, and they'll say, you don't have that hole in the back of your second chakra anymore, or third chakra anymore. And I'm like, thanks. I hired some help.
It's fascinating because at one point, this was 3 years ago, what happened to me is I was dealing with my own PTSD and all sorts of stuckness that basically accumulated, like I perfectly accumulated it all into my body throughout, up until that point, it was like 35 years of my life or something like that. And at one point, I started having this thing where my diaphragm got so squeezed, like I can't even explain to people how awful that feels, but it just kind of felt like my diaphragm went up to here and squeezed it, and I couldn't even like breathe with like third of my lung capacity, right? I could only like do shallow breathing, like this, and if I breathe any further than that, it would be like such a like a cross-cutting pain across my body. And I knew it was to do with it's like a mental, like almost like a mental seizure of a sort. And I was like, I can't let go of this. I can't let go of this. And I know it's like, because it happened at one point, it just kind of like came up, and it was holding for like 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And I literally couldn't breathe. And then at one point, I just kind of like relaxed. And then I realized I could breathe, like just that gift of being able to breathe with full lungs was like, literally felt like newborn person. And I was like, oh my God, I never really was able to appreciate breath as the first principle of life, and wasn't really able to appreciate the fact that diaphragm was there, that was able to just literally like squash me dead basically, or let me be. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about that sort of inner fascia stuff that you talked about, and that I only really discovered even its existence truly through your live streams and so on, and realized, oh my God, this is like really, really important stuff to know about.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this because I can geek out about fascia. So what I want to say about the diaphragm, this actually happens a lot to people. They may even experience, like, say, heartburn or acid reflux. You hear a lot of that. So that area, the diaphragm helps bring in breath. And like you said, the breath is, one of the first, how did you put it? The breath is one of the first
First principles of life. Yeah.
Principle of life. Yeah. That's the first thing we do when we get here.
Yeah.
The last thing we do before we leave. Yeah. So it's very important. It's our connection to divinity. It's our connection to the present moment. If we're not really breathing deep, and it's not heavy, it's just deep, going in our whole body, then we're not present. We're in our mind, we're usually in some sort of ego fear. And so when that happens with the body, it's that we're really scared of taking on more life. Life is scary.
Life is scary. God. Okay. It's true.
Yeah. Most people think they're scared of death. I've been playing with this a lot. And I don't know, I could be wrong here. I think we're scared of life.
Yeah. Like full potential life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Marianne Williamson has a quote, something like this, like, we're more scared of our biggest potential than being small, And so the breath is it's like the number one tool. It's the most powerful tool to getting into the body with a sense of presence, with a sense of listening to the message, also bringing in divine energy to help you heal, all of that. Now, the fascia is fascinating. The fascia is a connective web of tissue that surrounds the entire body. It's like I like to think about like a sweater. So you put on a sweater and you pull one string of the sweater, and a string on the other side is going to be pulled. It's going to be messed up on the other side. So anything in the body that gets like injured, whether it be physical injury, like an accident or you bump into something even, or emotional energy, a heart, like you got a broken heart, you feel not good enough. Somebody said something mean to you. You know, all of that, the body holds on to because there's a body response. When somebody says something mean, you usually tighten up. Boom. There's a trauma in the body. We all have PTSD. It's just if we don't let it out, basically. The reason I'm mentioning the fascia as it's related to trauma, the nervous system runs through the fascia like cars run through a highway. So this is something I believe there's no like evidence or science on this yet, or data, you know, maybe there's data being collected, but I don't know about it. But I believe that the fascia is when we can tap into the fascia, when you understand not just your muscles, not just your bones, not just your breath, but your fascia, and tap into that. You're tapping into your nervous system. You're actually tapping into the matrix, the connection to the synapses that are, you know, beyond what we can see. You know, you're getting the divine messages, or like some people call it the Akashic records, like speaking to God. I don't know, like whatever it is to you, whatever the way is you tap in and receive that divine energy. When we tap into the fascia, that connective tissue that holds the nervous system, we're tapping into that. That's my experience. Not many people will talk about it, even in my community of people that do this practice. Some of them do like love to talk about it, and some of them aren't, like they're like, no, I don't really feel that. I just feel better energy wise. So it's, you know, it just depends on the person. But the fascia is what either holds tight or allows us to be springy and open. So it has the ability, like a cat can be soft. You can rub the belly and be gentle and all of that, or it can be round and like tight in the back and strong and hard. And so the fascia is what allows us to go soft or hard. So if you have tension in the body, it's really the fascia. It's not the muscles and the bones and all of that. It's the connective tissue that holds it all together. And that connective tissue is where the nervous system is, which is connected to the mind. So
Yeah,
the reason my shoulders tend to be tight is not because I have tight shoulders. It's because I have a mental idea that I need to save the world.
yes, and and you're constantly like psycho programming your body to respond to that program, to that instruction. And what happens to people, like for example, my profession is design, which tends to be chair bound and sort of sitting, and a lot of like head based focus and logical process through most optimal way to get people from A to B online, and use all kind of psychological methods to get them to click a button, which usually results in companies making $300 million more, because now people can click one button as opposed to three buttons. And that kind of process is very, very constricting of the inner fascia area. And then if you're sitting like this, like a turtle, hunched over, and then you're also thinking those kind of thoughts, and you're not stretching, you're not being effectively a monkey on a pull-up bar, and hanging and loosening up, which is what like monkeys do a lot, like pulling faces, and yeah, all that stuff. And it's so like you cannot avoid laughing at that kind of, because it's just stupid, silly, yet that's life. So that fascia and that inner space becomes so constricted that people end up suffering from very, very dire consequences from that. But let's focus on the solution space, and what happens if you start, and when you start actually unwinding that. Or how do you think of this? How do you describe this process of reversing that kind of constriction tendency?
Yes, great question. I love the solutions because that's what that's what I do for a living. You know, I help people reverse that. I mean, the body is moldable, first of all. The fascia, once you realize everything inside is like, you're like a sack of liquid. The fascia keeps you up. The connective tissue is like a springy thing that keeps you up. The muscles, the bones, they just float. The organs, it's all floating in a bunch of liquid. It's not really bones to bones attached to stuff. Everything's floating in there. So you can remold the outer, area, remold your whole body, going from what you mentioned, this C curve where we kind of bend over and have to have a cane at the end of the day, when we're dying, bending over, looking down at the ground. And instead of doing that, learning how to say, for example, when you're at the computer, every hour, take some time to lift up your head, look out onto the horizon. It reshapes not only your fascia, the connective tissue, gets your body lifted from a posture standpoint, gets your head up off your shoulders because your head gets heavy. It's like a bowling ball sitting on top of your head or your neck, right? So it's so heavy. Get the head up. And then from a mental perspective, this helps with a sense of hope. It broadens your mind to ideas just by lifting your head and looking out into the distance. With the heart, so the heart tends to collapse on the front. The back of the heart, the ribs on the back, all of that, the back shoulders, that needs to be lifted up. I like to think of it almost like a puppet string, where you have a puppet string lifting your back between your shoulders there up more, instead of bending over totally when you're on your computer. So let that puppet string lift you up more and keep that back strong so that when you get up from the computer, you can walk and you're not still bending over. So you want to learn how to keep lifted up. And then with the hips, because the body's all one system, when you pull one sweater string, the other sweater, part of the sweater is messed up. So if you have a shoulder pain, it might not be a shoulder issue. It might be an issue down by your hips, for example. So most of us walk, sit, everything with our pelvic floor, our sits bones, all of that kind of hip area tight. The tailbone's usually tucked. What I suggest for people is if you're sitting on a computer, in addition to lifting your head up, keeping the back of your heart more lifted, is sit on your legs. Sit on your hamstrings, your femur bones, not your butt. Let your butt go kind of back and wide a little bit. And then the way to do this is lean forward and relax your belly. So to get present and not be too much in your mind, let the belly button go from let it relax away from your back. This is one of the hardest things for people, especially in your fitness. Now, you can tighten it up when you want to do your fitness. It's okay. But like the cat, go soft and learn how to go strong. Soft and strong. That's why what we need with the fascia, we need the engagement. So if you're too soft, you need to strengthen it by, walking more, exercising more, doing pull-ups, doing push-ups, bouncing, hopping. We need to leave the ground more, get that springiness like little kids more. So once again, the head, all it really needs to do is lift up and back a little bit, eyes out. It's really good for the vision. The heart, usually it's the back of the heart that needs to be lifted. It's kind of just bending over. It's not doing anything. And then the hips, we want that more open, which means, walk, stand, sit, everything with more wide hips, and don't have your tailbone tucked so much, right? Now, the key to all of this, one more piece, breath. Breathe through it all, or you're still going to be in your head and tight. The only way to really be present and relaxed in your body, relax the fascia, let it soften, is to be in a really just smooth, steady breath. And your breath, you can reach it all the way down to your bottom, your pelvic floor, your root, your tailbone. Like it might take you 10 breaths. It might take you 10 months of breathing. It might take you one breath over time. It just depends on the person and how heady you are. I tend to work with very intellectual people. I am highly intellectual. I love research and data and studies. That's what I do in my free time, you guys. Total academic. And so, yeah. And so it actually takes me longer to get present than somebody who's maybe not as heady and academic, minded, somebody that's not as into that. I have one of my best friends, I'm totally jealous of her sometimes. I'm like, man, she doesn't think so much.
Yeah,
So
this is a kind of like almost like a curse. To know too much is a curse because you tend to then want to think about other things that you need to know and want to know and so on.
An addiction to data. Many smart people may not be addicted to things like physically, like drugs and alcohol and food, but they are addicted to data. Smart people are addicted to data. I can claim that. That's why I teach what I teach, because I need it. And I know that people like me need it, because here's the deal. When your intelligence is very strong and you have a really great heart mission, if you can be present in your body, imagine what's possible. You'll get way more done. Way more.
So that's most likely counterintuitive to most people who are academic and sort of think of themselves as intellectuals, or what's these days referred to as knowledge workers, right? As a designer, I'm a knowledge worker. Nobody employs me for my fascia, right? Yet my fascia is inspiring my design. If I'm feeling pain in my back, all I'm thinking about is, shit, this pain in the back is getting worse and worse. The last thing I'm thinking about is design. And more importantly, incredible forward-looking design that's innovative, that's actually healing as opposed to hurting. And so actually what I found as a designer, as a maker, as an intellectual, is that the intellect, really the true intellect with a capital I, comes from the body. But it's taken me a long time, but hey, better late than never, or better at some point than never, or maybe reconnecting with how I was when I was younger. So that body health and presence, deep presence, has everything to do with being truly smart. Would
Yes. You, it goes back to even what we were saying in the beginning of trusting at this point in yourself, that all the information you need is, you either have it or it'll come, or you'll go find it. So you can just rest into being, knowing that at any point you like, you and I didn't plan this interview like, we're going to say this, we're going to say that, we're going to say that. We just said, we're going to trust it's going to work out, because we trust.
exactly.
And then the presence, and then the power comes through, and the right, messages come through, and what's needed in that moment. And I loved what word you used, innovative. You cannot be innovative if you're just in your mind, because the mind is just right here, right now. It's not imaginative. And so if anybody wants to grow beyond where they really are right now, it can't happen from the mind. Right? If anybody's stressed, if anybody's overwhelmed, stuck, it's all the mind. So we can't figure out the solution to the problem of the mind from the mind. It's in the body. And how do we get there? The breath. Soften. I mean, the two pieces is like soften the belly button and breathe and just see what happens. I always tell people, look, you're smart. My clients, for example, a lot of people I work with and talk to, it's like, you're smart. You don't have, because they'll start telling me, I got this and I can do that. I know. I don't care. I already know you're smart. Like, you've got this. You got the smart thing down. Right? I want you to be able to be fully you and have be really healthy, have time freedom to play. And then also, a lot of what I do is help people receive what they're worth, because they can still be in the head thinking about it. And so I would say for anybody who's listening and is like, I don't know about this like body thing, I'm smart and it's working. Test it out, smarty pants. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, fine. But you gather some data. That's what I've done. It's like, I don't know, my coaches have been like, you need to slow down and you need to breathe. And what's happened, I was nervous about it, right? I was like, I don't know. I'm so used to relaying my mind. Slow down and breathe. My intuitive gifts are like on point. So then I have clients where I know exactly what to say, when to say what, and they get bigger results. So they stay with me and they hire me for more. And it's not because I'm thinking about it. I already know stuff. It's what comes in the moment through the body.
Yeah.
That's the place. And I say, test it out. Try it out for a week. Try it out for a month. Let go of the mind. Try to answer everything from your breath, from your belly, and see what happens. It's going to be uncomfortable, but probably quite magical, innovative.
So the belly button is called the navel, right?
The navel. Yeah.
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 I
The
call it,
appropriate word.
yeah, I call it that bit of the body, I call it the naval base.
Nailed
It's
it.
like where everything kind of, all the ships that are looking to conquer whatever you're looking to conquer, depart from that naval base. Um, so
Can I give you an idea about that?
please.
Because the physical point you just mentioned. So imagine if you can keep that navel base soft and open, okay? And you launch two ways. So most people are just going one way, but can you launch your hips down, just energetically, kind of even your legs, and you push them down a little bit, and your heart up? Because that navel base is the place between which it's the connection between the heart and the root, actually. So I love that analogy. Can you keep your navel base soft and open? Rise your heart, keep your hips down. So it's a little bit, you might feel a little tension, but it's okay to feel little tension to stretch you and lift you and open you up, as long as it doesn't hurt. It's really engagement is what you're doing. You feel a little bit of tension when you take that navel base, shoot some rockets down, shoot some rockets up, or some ships up, or whatever shooting. I don't know.
Yeah. It's deploy that
Deploy.
energy. Yeah. Deploy that energy, both up and down. Ground yourself and rise. Yeah. Ground and rise, because both are amazing. And so what comes there, and as you said, we're just completely trusting the flow here. But you see, the one thing, and you mentioned, that you're intuitive and you're good with words, of course. I dare even to say perfect with words. But the nature of English language is that we have these kind of words like fall in love. When was the last time you fell in love? But that's falling motion. What about rising in love? And what I'm noticing here, and by the way, this is the first time we're speaking like this, even though we've
Yeah, I
interacted on
love this.
Facebook, it's first time we're speaking. So for me, this is like brand new experience. Okay. And what I'm noticing is that it's like, I'm thinking like, what kind of question could I throw at Lila that would kind of throw her off base? It's sort of like practicing the little sort of like devil within, right? It's like, I want to hate you, right? In a sense, right? And it's like, and then they're like, I can't, I just can't. And so because what seems to be happening is that you're constantly rising in love. And so talk to me a little bit about that. Is that something to do with body? Is it to do with mind? How do you see this? And, just talk a little bit about that, please.
About rising in love in life.
Yeah.
What I would say is each one of us has a different part of our life that's impacted our body. Usually it's around the age 0 to 7. Something happened. Either your parents weren't so great to you, a person at school, a sibling, maybe you saw a scary movie even, like anything can happen between that age that can bring in trauma that affects us in the body. So I want to start there. So I want to say that we're all particularly pulled to things for a reason. My childhood was a feeling of lack of love. So I spent my entire 34 years of my first 34 years of my life seeking love through my intellect. I'm smart. I get accolades. I go to school. I get good grades. They're nice to me. They applaud me or whatever. I was a cheerleader. I made the top cheerleader. I've done all these things. I love making money, right? So creating, but it's like not just the making money. It's like I love creating wealth to do good things. So I've created like fellowship programs. I've created I created a student senate in elementary school. Like I've created all of these like food drives. I'm on boards to help plant gardens in America and feed kids and all of this stuff. But the truth was I was doing all of it for seeking love instead of feeling the essence of divine love within me. And I know that sounds woo-woo and kind of wonky, but the truth is when I was 34, I found this practice where I learned how to breathe into my heart. That's and bring my mind into the heart. And physically, for the first time in my life, I felt love for myself. I had felt love for others. I had done a lot of good for others. But I'd been harmed from a kid, and I'd still felt like a pain, all this pain. So my heart chakra, my heart energy, my ability to love and get love was like, it was like a like, these rocks that get polished, but before they're polished, there's like just a hard rock, just a rock.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience. I had to really keep this guard up and use my intellect to get further in life. And I was trying to receive love, but I couldn't feel it. It was like too hard. I was just go, 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 more smart, more smart, more smart. That'll do it. So I was personally attracted to a practice that helped me open my heart because of my heart issue. So I'll speak to my experience in a second, but I just want to give you that, like, some people, I'm actually kind of a hip heavy teacher too, because I love helping people make money and create wealth and, feel their self-worth. And that's more in the hips. And so, I've done a lot of work around there, but it takes opening the heart to get into the hips. You can't really get down there unless you can get through the heart. So I had to work on the heart first. So if you're somebody who already has an open heart, this might not be your first step. It might get to the hips first, right? Mine was the heart. Okay. Now, why are you seeing me rise more and more in love? I would say, first of all, it's a choice. It's a choice. The body is my compass now. This is fascinating. I'm going to share this. I have this thing that happens, it naturally happens inside of me. If I'm judging somebody, because judgment's the thing that usually hurts the worst. Some sort of not understanding something, story, person, judging a situation or a person, or, where I'm supposed to be and where I'm not, or anything like that, judgment. So if I'm judging, especially if I'm judging a situation where I'm people, there's an automatic thing that happens to me now that goes, I love you, Lila. I love you, Lila. I love you, Lila. I'm like, well, who is that? Right? It's like my higher self. It's like me. It's me speaking. And so it's a choice. For example, I'm single. I date, and I have, made a commitment because of my divorce was painful, and the ending, all of that ickiness that happened. It just didn't feel good to the heart, created wounds. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to be unloving or create static with another human. So I love dating, creating friendships, creating partnerships, relationships, business, whatever, and never having that like heart callousness again, creating loving energy, whatever that means. So one practice I do is I see each human as a child, because we were once children. We have a piece of us still feels like the kid. We're just the little kid inside trying to figure the grown-up thing out. So if I can just see each person as an adult with an essence of a child as well within them, especially in their weak moments, then I have a lot more love and compassion. I work on my own heart, allow myself to cry when I need to, be angry when I need to, fully expressing the emotions as part of it. Some people call you crazy when you express, but if you don't express, the heart gets small. I'll give you, I've done cadaver labs. I've learned a ton about I know a lot about anatomy, physiology, all of that stuff. I love it. But a lot of people say, for example, have enlarged heart. It's because the ribs, the breath, everything's constricted. It's pushing against the heart. It's not really a heart issue. It's everything around the heart that's pushing into it. So breathing. I'm going to give you one tip that is very useful, that most people love when they learn from me, when they start practicing, but the side ribs, like from the waist down to the armpits, all of that, it hardly ever really gets stretched well. It doesn't see the day of light hardly ever. It's always, closed off, but it holds a lot of trauma and tension and tightness and worry and just things. Breath, if we can get into your breath, if you can't go deep into the belly, deep into the, if that diaphragm's holding anything, go wide. So breathe wide into those side ribs like a fish, where we came from. At some point, the fish gills go wide before you can go deep. It's way easier. So getting the arms out of the way, or just breathing wide, getting those side ribs, the back heart, all of that. The heart's really important. It's the first thing that's developed when we're in the womb, and it has this pulse, kind of like this back and forth pulse in the womb. And most people over time, they just get really still in the heart, get closed in the heart, and we need more movement. We need more openness, more breath around it all. So that's the physical piece. The physical piece is, the openness, the movement, the breath. The emotional piece is accountability, right? Loving other people, noticing when I'm right, wrong, kind of, maybe not right and wrong is the right word, but just if I do something that's harmful, making sure that I take my accountable, be sorry to myself or somebody else, right? Being communicative, right? All of that, not having any sort of stories that create negativity. And if you do, you'll feel them and shift them fast, right? That's what I do. I shift my stories fast because they're there still, but I have a strong willingness to choose to shift them. And then the other piece is I have a strong connection with divinity because I take time for it. Whatever your form of divinity is, take time for it. Mine is usually nature and just stillness, like meditation, just stillness and nature. Also movement, has been my form of meditation. It's not as much now because I'm basically working on training myself to be more in stillness right now. So I'm not doing as much movement meditation, but that's a very valuable way to get into your heart energy too.
So absolutely loving talking to you, and to sort of slowly start wrapping it up. What's your vision for humanity within the next sort of 10, 20, 30 years? What would you like to see?
What I would say is I'm not going to be pie in the sky and say what I would like to see. I'd rather say what I believe is going to happen, if that's okay.
Okay,
And
sure, sure.
I'm really going to speak from, this is what I want to happen. I guess it is what I'd like to see, but I really believe this is going to happen. So I'm really just going to speak it from as if it's so, if that's okay, to like strengthen the belief. Okay. What's just coming in my mind, I can kind of feel it here. I don't know if I can pull it out, but Eckhart Tolle wrote the book, The New Earth. And I see the next, 10 to 20 years being more like a new earth experience. And I'll explain what I mean in my kind of, from my eyes. What I want to say is I do believe the next few years are going to be tough for some people. That's why presence, being in your body, being loving is so important right now. Being rooted, but grounded, not being too much in your head and worries, right? All of that. So the next few years that we're in a transition period of shifting the economic, financial, medical, and education systems, also religious institutions. So there's about 5 system structures that are shifting, and it takes some time. And through transitions, through shifts, people are uncomfortable in their body, so they might freak out. Depends on how present somebody is. So that's why presence is so powerful for transition periods like this. Now, after this transition period, I believe there's a lot more local community governance. I believe that more of us are going to be bringing in collaborative decision-making with multiple stakeholders. I think it's going to be much more cooperative economically. I believe that we're going to have more community-based economies, state-based economies, smaller economies. We'll still have the big stuff, but I don't believe it's going to be as reliant on the big mega corporation conglomerations. Now, are some of them important? Yes, because they do great things for the planet. However, there's a lot of I just believe cooperative, local, food, people growing food locally, people slowing down, people building different ways to take care of the elders, for example, different ways to take care of children and educate children. I really going to start to value people more than economic growth. We're going to have economic growth, I believe, but it's just going to be in a different way. I believe there's more peace coming on the planet. I believe that the time of war is ending, even if we're in it of sorts now, right? There's always kind of this kind of yin yang, light and dark going on. But I really do believe as a collective that so many people are waking up spiritually when I say waking up spiritually, I really mean you're aware of your own thoughts, body, and energy. And everybody's different what that means. You have some sort of connections to something beyond the thoughts and the mind. There's an energy thing there too, something. And there's an awareness, a high level of awareness, you know, and it increases over time. I'm yet to meet an enlightened person per se on this planet, but we're getting enlightened over time, right? And that's happening more and more and more, and I'm seeing it more and more and more. And as that happens, we start to understand that we're connected to everything, not just each other as humans, but the plants, the animals. Like I can, trees talk to me, I can hear them. They give me messages. Like a lot of my business I do, like I do because the trees tell me to do stuff. And I'm like, really? And it's simple stuff like, follow your heart, Lila. What lights you up? I'm like, okay, I'll just do that. And it always works. So once you start, this is what I think, it's like more spiritual connection, more connection to everything, nature, you know, taking care of the environment is actually going to be an embodied, people are going to do it, not just think about it and talk about it and, you know, conjure up ideas about it. They're going to actually live it. I think there's going to be more minimalism, less need for as much stuff. I think people still value things because we're earthly beings, but I think they want things that are going to be more valuable to them that will last longer. Okay.
Fantastic. I resonate with that very much. And so where can people find you, and what kind of people are you looking for to help or work with?
Yeah. Well, I really love, I work with a lot of women and couples primarily who have what I would call they're spiritual entrepreneurs. They understand the divine essence is included in the business on some level. And the challenge is usually the mind's in the way, too much thinking. And then you get, you know, just really embody who they are so they can easily attract what they want. And it's usually just, you know, mission oriented people. I love people who want to do good in the world. I love waking up and working with my clients, right? So anybody who wants to do a lot more in the world and it's just your head's getting in the way, let's talk. And I love Facebook friends, right? I'm on Facebook a lot. So you can find me on Facebook if you want to check me out or Facebook stalk me or become my friend, whatever. Lila Veronica, it's Lila, Lila Veronica. And you can check out my website as well, thelilaveronica.com. And I always give away, I have a really just simple and short and sweet free video training, Body with Lila, LILA.com. And it's just 10-minute videos, and it gives you some simple parts of your body and what to do with them different. So you have more energy and are more open with posture over time.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to me about all of that stuff. It just worked out, as far as I'm concerned, perfectly. So sending you lots and lots of appreciations and positive energy and presence from London. So yeah, there we are. Thank you.
So much. And I want to say, I'm really enjoying watching your journey about your fitness, and you've inspired me to get my own pull-up bar. I'm working on that.
I'm embracing my inner monkey more and more every day.
Yay.
Take care.
It's good to be here.
Bye-bye.